My dear friend, I think there is probably no other construct that all of us conspiracists, those of us in the clerisy know. The number one out of all the operations from Ajax to Mockingbird to Paperclip to Stargate to Artichoke, name it. Mockingbird is number one. Everybody knows this. And everybody has to understand, if you are to involve yourself in this particular endeavor that we are in, you must understand this. Because the operation is still going on. It's still going on here now. That's the part that's the most fabulous. You know, there's news, there's propaganda, and then there's something which is much, much darker, much more interesting, much more fascinating. And it lives between the two of news and propaganda. Now, I want to talk to you straight into that middle ground. News, propaganda, obfuscation, you name it. Operation Mockingbird. Absolutely, positively critical for everybody to know. Declassified, absolutely true, church committee verified, not even a conspiracy theory, nothing. The psychological battle for your mind, because if you watched what I've said before about Soros, the battleground is the narrative, what you know. Now, for most Americans, good Americans, honest Americans, the press once felt kind of like a trusted neighbor. Maybe some of you remember the notion of Cronkite. Oh my God, you turned on the evening news and you opened up the morning paper, you remember there was a rubber band or a plastic bag, and you really believed you were getting the truth, kind of a rough edit of history. I mean, it was a rough but an honest map of reality. You believed it. It was in the paper. They even use these expressions. It was in all the papers. And what you were not told, what you never even insinuated, was that at the very same time, the United States government had built an entire machinery dedicated to turning that map into a maze. Oh, it's beautiful. Inside the CIA, when the CIA was the CIA, from the days of Dulles and Angleton, there were men who understood, and I think correctly so, and I think we all know this now, but men who understood that the most powerful weapon on earth was not a bomb, but a story. Remember Don Hewitt, tell me a story. One of them was Frank Wisner. He called his creation the mighty Wurlitzer, like a grand theater organ. With it, he claimed he could play any tune he wanted across the world. Pull one stop and a narrative appears in a newspaper, tap another and it echoes on radio, press a chord and suddenly students and unions and intellectuals all start kind of humming the same song, never realizing where the sheet music came from. You know what I mean? They just didn't think about it. That was Operation Mockingbird, and it's still here. Not as a single memo or a project file, but as a culture, a philosophy, a way of thinking, and it's still here. And the belief that the American public and the world at large were not just audiences, to be informed or filled in, but groups and masses, populations to be managed. And it grew in the Cold War when every government excuse began with the same phrase, national security. National security, that was carte blanche for everything. Once that phrase appeared, once it was invoked, anything became acceptable. Lying, staging events, coups, planting stories, even experimenting on the minds of citizens. I mean, experimenting. Not only that, but with You know about the Tuskegee report. I mean, it was insanity. You were told that psychological operations, PSYOPs, which what Fort Bragg just admitted to the other day, that PSYOPs were tools used overseas, leaflets dropped on enemy soldiers, and radio broadcasts aimed at, foreign capitals. What you were not told is that the manuals for those psychological operations or PSYOPs explicitly described three kinds of propaganda. White propaganda, where the source is openly acknowledged. Gray propaganda, where the source is deliberately blurred. And black propaganda, where the source is completely falsified, often pinned on an enemy in order to sow maximum chaos. Now, these weren't fringe ideas. This was official doctrine. And from there, it got even better. From there, it was more interesting. It was a short walk from the battlefield to the front page. Boop, boop, boop. Hundreds of journalists, editors, publishers, reporters look at Phil Graham from the Washington Post and his family. Some witting, some unwitting, some aware, some duped, all entered into a quiet partnership with the intel world. And some were paid assets who filed stories on command. Some were plants. Some were hidden. It was all over the place. Some believed they were simply helping their country. And that is the greatest way to dupe somebody. I want you to come on board our side because you think you're noble. You think you're noble. Others just repeated material and stuff that had been planted overseas, thinking it was organic. Remember, this happens when there's no filtering, there's no editing, there's nobody in charge. When you trust the value and the sanctity and the beauty of the news. And the result was the same. News became an instrument. The fourth estate, the honored, revered Cronkite. Remember, when I've lost Cronkite, I've lost Middle America. This is what LBJ thought after the Tet Offensive. It was supposed to watch power. It was supposed to take care, to focus power. It wasn't supposed to become an arm of power, but that's the way it was. One of the most disturbing laboratories, if you will, for these tactics was the way the government handled the UFO phenomenon. Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. In the late 1940s, people across the country reported strange objects in the sky, pilots and military officers, and it was crazy. Ordinary citizens. And the files show that the central concern inside the government wasn't little green men or whoever these people were. It was public belief. They feared that the hysteria could be weaponized, that the Soviet Union could flood radio channels with false sightings during an attack or use the panic to break trust in American authorities. Think about what Orson Welles did. Think of Mercury Theater. Think what we thought. It was pretty clever if you think about it. Because in order to be an intel, you got to think differently. You don't think the same way we do. You don't think the same way we do. You see, so what they did was, our side, so to speak, they launched projects with very innocent names. Project Grudge. Panels of experts and academic reports. Officially, these were investigations, but in practice, they were perception management pipelines. You strip away the mystery, pull that apart, denude it, and ridicule the witnesses. Use carefully chosen scientists to deliver final verdicts that close the case for the public once and for all. Teach the press how to frame believers as cranks. It wasn't about discovering truth. It was about standardizing disbelief to make that the norm. We still do it. We still see it. You must mock this. You must be a gatekeeper, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like Carl Sagan. See, this is where a few key terms become essential. And this is why you have to realize this. Pay attention. Cognitive warfare is conflict that targets how you think, what you fear, what you will accept is real. And you also want to conduct or create bridges between what you see and what you believe and what people tell you is true. The goal is not to win a debate, but to rewire the mental battlefield so you no longer trust your own judgment. A limited hangout. How many times have you heard me use that term? That is fundamental. If you're going to join this game of ours, our observation. A limited hangout is when an agency or a structure admits a small, tiny, controlled portion of the truth in order to prevent the full truth from coming out. They sacrifice a finger to save the body. Yes, they say, yes, we did this one bag thing. No, there is nothing more to see. Yes, we admit. And then when you say, wait a minute, we found this out. Well, we admitted to that. No, you didn't. You admitted to some piddly assay. No, that was it. No. You always let out something a little bit ahead of time, just a little bit. And people will jump on that and you move on. So it looks like, hey, we came clean. No, you didn't. It's like a jealous husband admitting he was late, but not that he was having an affair. I admitted it. No, you said you were home late. Well, we're not talking about late. We're talking about the lipstick on the collar. You got it. Psychological operations, PSYOP. Oh, in classic military language, these are operations that try to influence the attitudes and behavior of target audiences in support of whatever your political or military object is. Once upon a time, those targets were officially foreign. Over time, the line between foreign and domestic quietly vanished. And that's the secret behind the CIA. CIA is chartered to work elsewhere, never domestically, elsewhere. Gray operations, they hide who is speaking. Black operations lie about who is speaking. See, a statement that looks like it came from a dissident, some, detractor or a defector, actually might come from an agency desk. A shocking leak might have originated in an office that wanted you to see it because you trusted. We trusted. That's really the undergirding of this. It's the trust. You believe your government. In the 1970s, the mask slipped. The Church Committee, nirvana. The Church Committee was a Senate investigation, and they pulled a few threads and discovered a tangle of domestic spying and media manipulation and coordination, illegal operations. Journalist Carl Bernstein, by the way, he was one that reported that more than 400 American journalists had secretly worked with the CIA over the previous quarter century. This is Carl Bernstein. This is before I think it was Rolling Stone, if I recall correctly. Publishers and network heads were named. The story briefly broke through. Then the system slammed the door. Names were withheld. Files were managed. And just enough truth was released to create the impression of reform, but not enough to burn the whole thing down or to change anything. We're just, remember, limited hangout. Yeah, we'll change a few things. No, they weren't. And here's the real blowback. This is fascinating. Once the public learns that the press and the government, colluded and conspired, once people realize that their trust has been, misused, treated as some kind of a little resource to be mined, something fundamental breaks. Something. Confidence in institutions collapses. Just collapses. But as you know, the old saying is nature abhors a vacuum. So when trust disappears, what moves in? Rage, confusion, anger. People become cynical and strangely gullible at the same time. It's interesting. It's kind of counterintuitive. If nothing is believable, then anything can be believable. Anything can be believed. This is about, think about this as like psychological 3-card Monty. That is the world you live in now. This is a world in which legacy media and intel leaks and whistleblowers and Snowden and Assange, and you think they're legit. I mean, I'm sure they are, but then again, can you really tell me? See, all the social media feeds, think tanks, all of them collapse and clash in real time. The mighty Wurlitzer has become digital. And what do we have today? Algorithms. I haven't even brought up AI yet. Algorithms. They decide which stories you see. They decide. Outrage is rewarded. Calm analysis buried. Every story, every narrative arrives preloaded, with some kind of a label, like you're on a team, like a team jersey or something. Believe this, and you're on one side. Question it, and you're on the other side. Which side are you on? Our side? Their side? It's Manichaean, very black and white. Nothing is just, no. It's one or the other. The spirit of Operation Mockingbird didn't die with the Cold War. Hell no. It simply upgraded its tools. The battleground is now your attention span, which is increasingly fleeting, and your emotional bandwidth, they say. You see, the goal, and you know this, the goal and the objective is not to make you believe one little lie. The object and the objective is to keep you in a permanent state of uncertainty and anger and distraction, so that genuine accountability never arrives. You're always confused. You don't know what to believe or whom to believe. And the more concomitant voices, like me, like you, the more confusing it gets. The only defense, the only thing, listen to me, is ruthless, unabated curiosity and skepticism. When a story provokes or inspires an emotional reaction, stop and ask, cui bono, cui prodest, who benefits? If there's a scandal that breaks out in a way that conveniently closes more questions than it opens, ask if you're looking at a limited hangout. When something says, well, that's that. Wait a minute. It's never that easy. When you feel pulled toward the comfort of an explanation, that kind of fits your worst fears perfectly, ask whether you're being guided versus informed. See, look, Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, we've said this, was the psychological battleground and battle of your mind. And the battle never ended. I keep telling you, it's still going on right now. And the question you have now is simple. Are you a target? Are you still a target? Or are you a witness to this? You can't do anything without understanding specifically how this works. You can't. This is absolutely, positively, 100%. This is ground zero. Everybody has to understand this. Make sure that you always explain this, especially to your younger relatives, children, friends. Make sure they know this. And we know it. We know us, Mockingbird. We've said Mockingbird, Paperclip, Ajax. Ajax was Iran. Popeye with cloud seeding. All these operations and all these. After a while, they make it sound like we're makeshift secret agents. No, we're not. We're not pretending this. We're able to understand the complexity of this. And we've never shied from it. Because in order for you to be a conspiracist, in order for you to be a part of our team, you have to know this intuitively. And you can't be afraid of this. You can't, what am I trying to say? You can't dismiss it. This is exactly what's going on. And you're going to be seeing things right now because of, oh my God, through big tech, through Silicon Valley, through Palantir, through Thiel and others. It'll blow your mind. Blow your mind. And unless people get it, I've seen this. I see it all the time. I've seen it the way it's done, the way they everything that they told us. Remember, and I keep bringing this up, geoengineering. They used to call it chemtrails. People said you're crazy, you're crazy. And then what showed up on the internet? Geoengineering. Look up geoengineering. There it is. It was there the whole time, but they didn't call it chemtrails. What you called chemtrails, they referred to that version of it as being crazy. And then you go down the list, go down to other aspects. Look at what's going on. I promise you, they love to play limited hangout and just little crumbs when it comes to UFO. Oh, we're going to release these files. The Epstein files. We'll never know. You don't ever. Do you think, let me ask you this. What have we learned from Epstein? Anything? No. Remember, these files are going to be released? Were they released? I think they were. You see what I'm saying? You see how confusing this is? It's unreal. It's like, what is this? How is this? How does this even work? I'm not even sure about anything. I'm not even sure how this works anymore. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's down. I don't know. That's what they want you to feel. And they want you to give up. And it's so easy for you to say, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. Did you hear the story where Cory Booker is getting married, right? Cory Booker, the New Jersey senator? Okay. Okay. Alex Soros is got married. Okay. Just saying. Whenever you bring something up like that, when you say, hey, do you think, what are you talking about? I remember years ago, Mrs. L was talking about Bruce Jenner having a sex change operation, though he kind of really didn't. He had a cosmetic, I don't know what he has done. But anyway, she said this because we knew, and she knew, but in the world of blinds and blind items and different sources, kind of like the entertainment black web, we knew all about this. And when we said it, people said, that's crazy. He's an athlete. He's like, no, what does that mean? It's like, oh, he can't be gay. He's got children, that kind of thing. We knew about this. We've got others that can't say anything yet, but some of them which always is, I think, is interesting because I don't understand why Hollywood, that so openly supports LGBTQ, why they would do anything but explore this and celebrate somebody come forward. In any event, that's it. Continue. Watch what I'm doing. Make sure you follow this. Make sure you follow us at Lionel Nation. Make sure you follow us. Make sure it's critical. Also, make sure that you follow us also on X. I still say that. Oh, Laurie Cox says, I wouldn't be surprised if it's bullshit. If what's bullshit? What? There's a lot of bullshit we're talking about here. I don't know what we're talking about. I know what I know, and I know what we know, and I know what a lot of people know, Laurie. I know what a lot of people know, and I know that many of us have been hearing for the longest time that certain things are kind of the way it is. And I find it interesting. Look at, I don't know if you've heard about Hugh Jackman. I'm just saying, there's all this stuff that's going on there. We don't really know he has a very interesting story. I don't know. Now, personally, so that you know, I don't think it matters at all. Personally. But what I do is I find the hypocrisy hysterically funny. It's almost like they have these people. Did you see? Look at her provenance. Remember, Cory Booker, first had his boo. What was her name? She was a famous name, I guess. Anyway, that didn't work out. That didn't pan. He called her his boo. Now we have this one. Just matter. Now they're getting married. Why? He wants to run for office. And I guess he figures I got to get married right away. Okay, that's sad. Say what you want about, and I'm not telling you, I'm not making any allegations of sexual configuration. I don't know. But Pete Booty Giggity, he always said, this is what I am, and that's it. And in a way, you kind of admired it. And you say, well, that's the way he is. And you know what? Deep down inside, nobody cares. So anyway, Lori, I thank you. Anyway, tomorrow is December 1st, my friend. Right now, and it's 40 degrees in New York City and colder than a well digger's ass. And even thank you so much, my friends. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting. By the way, follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Follow this, subscribe. I got more coming up. And I've got more kind of rudimentary backdoor stuff. Just stories things that you should know as a conspiracist, which people still love to be reminded of. The rudiments. Kind of how things work. I'm going to go back and explain Milgram again. And I think events that are so critical in our collective development. All right, dear friends, have a great day. Thank you so much. By the way, tonight, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern Time on the other side of midnight, WABC, 770 a.m. Go to WABCradio.com. Just go to 770 WABC. Get the app and listen real time. What I just told you right now, I couldn't do this on regular conventional radio because they don't know what that is. They'll think I'm crazy. I might be crazy, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. Until then, remember, monkey's dead, show's over, sue you. Dad.